Well, good morning. The project that we're starting on this morning is we're putting in this condenser pump. That's the condenser water for our refrigeration, our RSW. I kind of kicked around a few ideas last night. I thought about putting it underneath the floorboards down there, which if you remember in the last video when we were running that fuel line, that was kind of in the discussion as a possibility. I put it down there, kind of mocked it up. I really did not like what I was seeing. So I brought it back up here and I put this wood down here, kind of put it somewhat in place here, and this is what I decided to go with. So the plan, I made this piece of flange plate out of some stainless, broke the sides to give it a little extra strength, which is way overkill, but that's okay. Cut it to the angle here, and I'm gonna push it back in there a little further. I'm probably gonna make some adjustments to this back corner here, and then I'm going to put a leg from there down to the angle iron that the floorboard sits on. So that's what I'm working on this morning. So this is what I came up with. Didn't change that part, but I cut that to fit, and then instead of going down, I just made a piece that turns here, and then we'll weld it right to the tank. Put a little piece on the end to close that up. Punched a couple holes in it for the pump to mount to. Should be good to go. Okay, so we've got the pump mounted on its bracket there, and now we got to worry about getting it plumbed. So I'm going to come out of that flange, which is a valve. Going to come out of that just a little ways, put a T, and then in that T I'm going to put a zinc with running water, particularly running salt water, but even running fresh water. Any moving water creates electrolysis. And so you put a zinc in, and then we'll come over right through that hole to about the center here. We'll come up underneath the floorboards. Have to do some fancy kind of bending there, I think. Come up, we'll have a 90, and then it'll go right into the pump. So that's what we're going to work on now. Getting hot. So I went ahead and made this pipe. It's got the flange on it. It's got the section for putting a zinc in it. It's going to run it over to here. The The issue is going to be trying to actually get it in there, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, I'll move some stuff around here so we can get this bolted up. So basically what's going on here is this box. If you remember from a couple of videos ago when I was explaining blind taps, this is what we were looking at on the outside of the boat. So this is an open box that allows seawater to come up into this box, and then that pipe is the suction that goes up for that pump right there. And then this valve is the main sea chest valve that we're plumbing in for this condenser pump. And so this would be the main shutoff for it. And then we'll plumb it the rest of the way in. And then this is also why we two-hole things, because I originally two-holed the flange coming off of this sea chest box, which then aligned this valve perfectly plumb. And then because I knew that I'd two-holed this, I wanted this T with the zinc to be straight up and down. So I just two-holed that to this flange, and then I don't have to come in and out and check things. It's just, I know that everything is going to bolt together and line up correctly because we went through the effort and time of two-holing everything when we originally put it together back when. And granted, sometimes you can't do that if this valve, you know, couldn't have fit or something, you know, at that point, then a person, you know, makes a decision, do I have to turn this out? And then obviously at that point, you're no longer two-holing it, you're putting it where it needs to go. And sometimes that's how things are, but the best thing is to two-hole everything, because then, you know, if you were going to rebuild like that pipe that goes across the top up there, that's all two-holed, and all I would have to have is an overall measurement of that pipe. And because it's all two-holed, I could literally build that pipe with one dimension, the overall length, build it out of the boat, bring it down to the boat, and install it with no issues whatsoever. And so that's why it's important to spend the extra time when you're initially building stuff, because it'll save you in the long run. And yes, I know these bolts are way too long, but it's what I have. And I don't want to spend the money right now on shorter bolts, because these ones will work just fine. They're just a little long. Already see where I screwed up here. Oh, that's lovely. So, what I did, I messed up. Not that big of a deal to fix, but I went straight line from this flange up through there, and the boat rises up, so it cannot go in a straight line. So therefore, I'm going to have to put a bend somewhere, probably right here, to bring that up so it'll shoot up through and not sit on that. Because as you can, I don't know if you can see it or not, but what I did, you go to tighten up the top, huge gap at the bottom because it's sitting on this right here. So all I'll have to do is put a little bend right in here somewhere. That'll bring that up, clear that, and then we can move on. So kind of the plan here is the other thing that we've got from the last video when we were doing fuel lines. We've got to put a valve here and drop a pipe down through, down through here. Probably bump through here to come into in line with this one that we put in the other day. So where this line is going to come up has to be forward of that. So basically we're going to put a 90 here, pipe's going to go over, up through here, up, put a 90 right into the pump. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this back out, put a bend in it, get that up, then we'll move forward. So I went ahead, I think you can probably see that bend there, and then I actually kicked it back more straight over there because I didn't want it to just continue shooting up, because we have to go underneath those two fuel lines there. So see how this goes this time. Figure out the parts that we're going to need to run that line up to there. Tomorrow I'll run down and get those, kind of in order to figure out the rest of the plumbing though. Need to get that condenser up in here and mounted, so that's what I'm going to work on now. When I get it a little closer over here, I'll bring you guys back. Well, you're going to have to forgive me. I kind of forgot about the camera, but here we are. This is the project. Almost got it kind of up in place. We were going to run the water out of that end, but now that I have it up here, I think the best thing to do is actually run it out of this end. So I'm going to put that end here. We'll come right out of this with a 90. We'll come right down to the pump, and then I'm thinking we'll come out of the top with a 90 and actually go behind it once we have it in place, and then it'll run all the way behind it, and that outlet with the tape right up there is where it goes overboard. So I'm going to keep wiggling this up into place, and then I'll give you a little update when we get a little closer and I actually start figuring out how I'm going to mount these hangers to the side of the boat. Okay, so I kind of got it where pretty close to what I think it's gonna be. I'm gonna have to run and get a street L to come out of here, and then we'll put a union right here to run down to that pipe, and then we're gonna come out of here with a street L and probably actually have a second street L and then a union. And it's really important to be able to take apart the plumbing and get this off, because there is the occasion where you might plug this up with something that you're pulling water out of, you know, through that pump. And I've had that happen once before. So it's really important that you can get both ends off, and then you can run a rod through there and unplug anything that's plugged up. So basically what I'm gonna do is tomorrow I'll run and get the street L's, and then once I get the street L's put in there, then I'm gonna move this back this way as far as I can to where that plumbing is, you know, right in here close. Because as you can see, I mean, this would get pushed back further, but we're getting right in there close to that generator. So the further I can bring it this way, the better at this point. So that's about as far as we can get on this until I figure out how close I can push it back this way. But I can make a list now of what I think I'm gonna need to get this all put together, and I'll run down and get everything we need tomorrow and keep going on this. Okay, so I spoke with my refrigeration guy, and we decided that the bottom port is the import, and then the top is the out. So that takes me back to my original plan of, I think I'm gonna turn this one and try to go behind everything and out, and then we'll come right out of this one and go down to here. The bummer of this whole equation is they're saying, or they're telling me, that the regulation valve, because you have to regulate the water flow through these condensers to make the refrigeration system run correctly, needs to be on the outside. So I think what we're gonna have to do, that thing is just ungodly huge, so I went ahead and ordered just a threaded valve. So I think we're gonna come out of here, 90 back, put a union in here somewhere. The regulator valve will be right here, and then we'll shoot on over. We'll do a 90 up, and in that 90 going up and down is where the check valve is going to be. So the check valve will have gravity helping it close, because it's just like a flipping valve. It doesn't have a spring to hold it closed, and so gravity will help that. So that's the plan. As far as plumbing it, what we're going to start on right now is the mounting the condenser itself to the boat. So to start with, I'm just going to make a plate, and it's going to come off this, and it's just going to weld directly to this frame. It'll saddle around this clamp, then weld directly to the frame. This one over here, I don't have 100% plan yet, because basically all I have to go to are those 3 longitudinals, which are more than enough to hold this, but I just don't know how to do it yet and make it clean. So gonna be thinking about that one while we're working on this other one. So I'm gonna go get some cardboard to make a pattern. Gonna do a little CAD work, cardboard assisted designing, and I have really no way to put the camera in there, so you're gonna have to miss that section, and then we'll go lay it out, get it tacked up, and get it fit in there. I'm gonna apologize now if you're a person that likes to see every single step. I've been working on bending this pipe. I've got the street L in there with a nipple, and then I'm gonna run it a union. And then I've got this pipe that I'm working on bending. Into place. So now we've got that bent. It's gonna come down, bend over, and then I'm just gonna make a short piece here that's gonna come up, and there'll be a hose that connects the two with a couple clamps. The other thing that I finished up was the hangers. I ended up running a piece of flat bar between all three longitudinals. It's welded to all three. And then I just took a piece of 1/4-inch plate, broke both sides of it, welded that to the clamp, and I got to finish welding it to the boat, but then I just took a piece of 3/8 flat bar, fitted in there like I said I was going to do, and welded that in place. Like I say, I got to finish welding it to the boat, but I'm going to wait until I've got it all locked up to where it's not going to move once I pull the condenser down. So now I'm just going to get the plumbed for the condenser, and then we'll pull the condenser out, and it obviously needs sandblasted and painted, so we'll get it painted up real nice, and then I'll weld the mounts up solid, and then we'll get it back in here, and we can start hooking up the copper plumbing for the refrigerant and everything. But that's where I'm at that at the moment. Sometimes I just get to working and I don't think about turning the camera on. So that's where we're at this point. Okay, another quick update. This is where there's going to be a hose connecting the two. I just took a straight piece of pipe. I measured with the angle finder off of this and up this, and it came out to like 23 degrees or something. So I just cut the pipe at a 10-degree angle and then spun it, this piece 180 degrees, so that gave me a 20-degree bend, and it came out real nice. So this will just thread in there like it is, pipe, on up to the union. So now I got to come out of here, turn 90, run down right about here is where the valve is going to go, which I am waiting on the valve to get here. So there's only so much I can do with this project. There also will be, right after this 90, there'll be a union. So this, basically the idea is you can undo this union, and because there's a hose down here, you can just push the pipe down a little bit, and then this union, or this pipe over here, will go to a union. I'll have to have it oriented in a way to where there's enough room to actually get this off. Anyway, so come out of here to a union, come across, valve, continue across, turn up and out. That'll be the plumbing setup. So I think I'm going to stop on this project because I don't have the valve, and we'll come back over here and maybe work on this project again. We went ahead and put the pipe for the small generator all the way up, and the fittings just came in to get me from the muffler to there. So I'll probably go ahead and start working on that project now. Well, I couldn't help myself. I kind of kept thinking about this project and how when I realized I had to make it to where I could push this, get this cap off, when I mentioned I had to orientate it the right way, I just kind of couldn't quit thinking about it. So I kept looking at it here. I think I've got a pretty good little plan. Let's see here. I kind of decided, well, I could get it over to the point where the valve is just going to thread on. So I figured that's what I would do. Mess with this a little bit more. See if my scheme, that's what you want to call it, it's going to work. Get this threaded on here and I'll show you what I kind of got going. Okay, so I'm just going to come out, twist right back around, put this one at an angle. The union's right there, so that'll be maybe not the easiest to get apart, but doable. Pretty sure this copper tubing is going to come over here, come down, and go right into here on the compressor. So that should be turned like that. And now I just need to make a piece that'll come out of here and bend to parallel the condenser with threads here for the valve to thread onto, and threads on this end for it to thread into this union. Okay, so I bent this pipe. Go ahead and take this union apart. Throw it on here. Okay, there it is. So obviously the valve is going to be over here further than I originally said, but that is the shortest pipe I could bend in my bender, basically. So unless I wanted to cut it off and then have a short piece of threads that I welded on, I couldn't make it any shorter than that. The valve being over there a little further is not going to affect anything. And then if I can put more bend, I can put more bend in this if I need to, but I can, because we can turn here, you know, and it'll be tight, but I can, the way this has gone together here, I'll be able to fine tune where that runs on out to where we're going to come in over there. So that quite literally is as far as I can go without getting that valve. So today's Friday, so it'll be hopefully next week that valve will show up and we can run that the rest of the way out.